here with Geoff with Avon. I wanted to really spend some time here at Plex talking about what's going on with your Plex instance, the finite scheduling in terms of what's happening. But let's go back to when you chose Plex. When was that?
That was back in 2007 when we first started to use Plex.
So you are an early adopter of Plex.
Yes, we are.
So what happened? What was going on at the time when we were making that decision?
Growth. We were about a $7 million company. We were using Excel spreadsheets. We had a legacy system. I think it was called Monitor back in the day. Didn't cover everything we needed to do. So we were looking for a new ERP system, and we shopped around. And really, what sold us on Plex was the access through the internet. Actually, that set you apart at the time back then. And that was our decision with going with Plex.
So that was different for the cloud. It's the cloud.
It's the cloud
access.
now, they're calling it, yeah.
Yeah, so that access was big for you. So
yeah.
you guys grown with them. And
yeah.
How big are you now?
We're up to over $40 million.
From 7 million to 40 million, that's like 6-7x growth
Yeah.
In a very short period of time.
Yeah, it's been a lot of growth.
So while you guys are growing with that, has the Plex environment changed for you?
It's changed for the better. I mean, with the finite scheduling system especially.
It wasn't there before. How did you get that? How did you work in that process?
Well, I mean, like anything, once you get used to what you're using, it becomes the norm. So, prior to having Plex, we thought that was the norm. But once we got Plex, we realized what we were doing was just a ton of extra work and a lot of man hours not value added. Everybody knows that. So once we got Plex, the same thing. Like, we still had things we were doing within the scheduling system that we thought could be better. We could reduce some man hours. And it basically come down to the job dispatch list. We were spending a lot of time in there organizing that. We have over 600 part numbers and over 100 work centers.
And you're manually taking care of that.
And we were manually moving because you only had two options. Either you sort the dispatch list by a date or you did it manually. You couldn't do both. So technically we would want it by date, but we also want to have the ability to move it manually for those, those tweaks that you're always doing to the dispatch list. So that was our problem. So to make Plexes better, we were looking at using Tactic a year ago, and then it just so happened that Plex was working on the finite scheduling system at the same time, so then we collaborated and developed what you got now. So.
That's pretty cool. So Plex now has finite scheduling, and you walk through a requirements process. So what's it like, right, putting those requirements? I mean, did they come to you and said, hey, look, here's an area we're looking to improve, and you guys, it was just happened to be at the same time?
It was a collaboration. They knew we were interested in doing a finite type scheduling system with a third party, and at the same time they wanted to obviously, I guess, bring on something within Plex. So timing for us was perfect, and we explained, then we collaborated with Ian and the Plex team, and they understood, the problems that we had. And like I said, it's more fine-tuning. Plex still worked great compared to our old system, right? So we were just making it better is what we were doing.
Now you started with one plant. How many do you have now?
Actually, we're the only plant that uses Plexes. We do have a plant in Japan. We're owned by Akubo Gear in Japan, and they also have a plant in China. But currently, we're the only ones using Plex. I'm trying to change that.
Trying to change that? Very cool. And so what are some lessons learned, right? You've got probably a lot more experience than a lot of folks here at the conference. What are some of the things that you think works with putting something like Plex in?
Well, obviously the biggest thing is to remain lean even as you grow. Because during that growth, we didn't have to add people to do the scheduling, to do a lot of the functions that Plex takes care of. It handles a lot of data in the background, gives you out the information you need, and you need just a few people to manage that. So especially when it comes to scheduling, we did have people manually moving the dispatch list. Once we got the finite scheduler, you hit the button. Of course, you got to do your background work in the routers, and so there's some homework involved, just like anything when you set it up. But once it's set up, you got your overlaps in there, and everything's working the way you want it. You hit that button, 30 seconds later to a minute at the most. All 100 work centers are scheduled by priority, by date. Takes in manpower consideration, material availability, and the work center capacity. So all those things within 30 seconds is just amazing. And then all the scheduler has to do is go in there and just fine tune. If he sees something out of place for whatever reason, he makes a change manually, and he can do that. So you have the best of both worlds, right? It'll take all that work, all those job changes, schedule it in your dispatch list by priority, the quickest way. It doesn't stack them anymore. It gants it out, because that was one of the problems with the scheduling system is you could schedule 5 or more part numbers all on the same date, and Plex just thought you could start them all and finish them all at the same time, and that wasn't realistic.
You can't. It's a dependency on a Gantt chart.
Right, so with the finite scheduling, it knows that, and it Gants it out, and so now you can see, this one is going to be late. That's a big plus for getting current. At the time, even before finite scheduling, we were over 1,000 pieces past due to Caterpillar, and since finite scheduling, we got under 100 pieces past due. So that played a big part in getting us current with Caterpillar.
Right, and also getting you paid earlier too.
Well, yeah,
as well.
yeah, sales out the door.
Yeah, it's very huge. So between you and me, I'm very curious about this. The first time you ran that, did you like go back and double check that like 100 times?
Oh yeah, at first nobody, they didn't want to trust it, right?
Right.
And,
how long did it take to get people to trust the system?
Really, probably after the first couple months. But because we were developing it, I think now I would trust it right off the bat. But during the development, there was things that Ian was working with us on. When it ran, he'd be like, is there something you don't like?
But it's one of those things, like the first time someone runs it, like they're like, they can't believe it's happening in 30 seconds, right?
Right, oh yeah, it was. That part was, you think about the data that it's processing and the decisions that it makes. And
you're like, how can that be right?
And then it changes that dispatch list, which we had people doing all day long to keep it accurate. It did it like that, just with the.
And once you did that, people just took it for granted, right?
Yeah, and now it's what we do. We don't even second guess it, we just run it. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Works great.
Well, very cool. Well, hey, thanks for sharing your story about getting finite scheduling on place, lessons learned from the cloud, and more importantly, really understanding like how this system's improving business.
Yeah. You're welcome.
All right, thanks a lot. We're here live again at PowerPlex. It's our 13th annual conference here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and thank you very much, Geoff.
All right, thanks.